So just moments ago, I was briefed by fire and safety officials on Arizona's upcoming wildfire season. As we've implemented measures to slow the spread of COVID-19, we've encouraged people to stay home, stay healthy, and stay connected, and to enjoy nature when possible. As we do so, we need to enjoy our beautiful outdoors as responsibly as ever. This year, Arizona has experienced a fairly wet winter, very similar to what we experienced last year. This means that we have more vegetation on the ground that can act as fuel for these wildfires. So just like people have done in response to COVID-19, we're asking everyone to do their part this year to help prevent wildfires in Arizona. So there are several common sense precautions everyone can take to minimize these fire risks. First, spring is a great season for getting yard work done. And at the same time, we know that just a little bit of heat or a single spark from a lawnmower can start a fire. So please make sure your equipment is in good working order and be cautious while you're working outdoors. Second, please make certain that your trailer chains don't drag. Any spark can start a fire, and dragging trail chains have done it in the past. And third, if you are camping or you do build a campfire, please make certain that matches or cigarettes are out cold before you walk away with them. And lastly, please remember it's illegal and highly dangerous to fly a drone near a wildfire. Drones bring air support operations to a halt, which puts people, pets, and property in danger. So please follow the law and keep your drones away from wildfires. Before I hand it over to Director Tenney, I want to say thank you to Arizona's partners at the federal and local levels. We cannot fight firefights. We cannot fight fires alone. Arizona's plan is one that looks at all the ways to work with our partners so that we can plan ahead, prepare, and keep people safe. A special thanks to Mr. Kelly Castillo and the Bureau of Land Management, along with everyone at the U.S. Forest Service for their partnership throughout the year. And a special shout out to Colonel Helston Silbert, our state troopers, and all local law enforcement that coordinate with our wildland firefighters for smooth operations. And a special thanks today to Chief Freitag and all of the local fire departments. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to David Tenney. He's the Director of the Department of Forestry and Fire Management for a brief update on actions that the department has taken to mitigate wildfire risk. David?
Thank you, Governor. As was shared in the briefing a few minutes ago, I'd just like to touch on some of the things that we are trying to do within DFFM to mitigate wildfire. There's so much of wildfire and wildland firefighting that we can't control, weather and lightning strikes and things of that nature, but we have certainly been proactive as a department in trying to mitigate what we can. I want to touch on just 2 or 3 of those programs. The biggest one, and one we've been spending a whole lot of time with, is the Forest Restoration Initiative that is out for a request for proposal right now. This is a partnership between DFFM, the Forest Service, SRP, and the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. It's an unprecedented partnership as we move forward to try to get bids from companies that would be willing to come in and over a 20-year contract thin out between 600 and 800,000 acres of national forest in Arizona. It's an unprecedented contract of 20 years using the new 20-year stewardship authority that was granted in the Farm Bill a couple of years ago. Those bids are due in early May, and we are hopeful, cautiously optimistic that we will get bids in that will provide the infrastructure and the workforce that is needed, the jobs that it will create to thin out those forests. Also gave an update on 26 different projects going on through the hazardous vegetation removal funds that come through the state's budget. Those 26 projects are strategically located in different places throughout the state where fire hazard is extreme, and we try to target areas where we are very susceptible to fire. One of those that we actually partnered with the Coconino County Board of Supervisors, as well as the National Forest Foundation, where we put $300,000 into that project that leveraged another $1 million from the National Forest Foundation to do some steep slope logging on Bill Williams Mountain to protect that community of Williams and all of the infrastructure there in case there was a fire on Bill Williams Mountain and the subsequent post-fire flooding that would come. We also updated the governor on 11 different projects in the IPP program, the invasive plant program that came out of the budget last year, and what we're doing there. So certainly we will continue to do what we can as an agency to target the areas that are problematic and do what we can to effectively create healthier forest conditions in Arizona. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Director Tenney. And now John Truitt from the Department of Forestry and Fire Management is going to provide some further insight into the upcoming wildfire season. John?
Thank you, Governor. And again, thank you for your support and your leadership through these very challenging times. Most of us have been fighting fire for a long time, and this is going to be one of the most challenging seasons we're going to have, with the added complexity of trying to deal with the COVID-19 protocols from the CDC. So Governor Ducey touched on our fuel loadings out there. You know, with our grasses, the winter rains that we've had and the intervals they've came in, it's really got our grass crop at a continuous fuel bed, what we call that. So we're going to have a greater risk of fires continuing across the landscape that normally would stop on natural barrier or, you know, maybe some dirt roads or whatever. We can expect those features not to hold this year, just like we experienced last year. The other thing is that we're going to be on resources. You know, we're doing a daily check on our resources, and we're going to have to really attack these, change our strategies and attack our small initial attack fires. We're going to try to hit them as hard as we can, keep them as small as we can. But as they grow out of our initial attack into extended, that's when we're going to have to start reducing the workforce on the ground because of the mitigations of the COVID-19. In that respect, we're going to be using a lot more aircraft as available. So that gives you an overall picture of what the fuel conditions look like, and I would like to really go into the cooperation, the relationships that the Arizona Fire Service has. We have our local fire departments, our local fire districts, our state partners, and our federal partners, BLM, Forest Service, state, our national parks. We've been all working real diligently over the last 30 days or so, coming up with a cooperative agreement or a cooperative language on how we're going to respond as agencies. It's going to be a very trying time to try to fight fire with the COVID-19 and the CDC protocols and still try to maintain firefighter safety. But I want to guarantee it that we've been working real hard in a partnership with all of our locals, and this is going to be a very challenging time, but I want to assure the residents of Arizona that the Arizona Fire Service is prepared and they're up for the challenge of this year. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, John. And now we're going to hear from Chief Scott Freitag from the Central Arizona Fire and Medical Authority. He's going to talk about state and local cooperation that makes wildfire suppression possible. Chief?
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate the opportunity. One of the things I think that the residents of Arizona need to understand is that we have one of the strongest relationships between local, state, and federal fire resources, as well as our law enforcement partners, of anywhere in the United States. That said, at the local level, we are busy trying to balance our capacity between the COVID-19 situation as well as our wildland season. To that end, I'd like to reinforce what the governor said. Given that 50% of our fires each year are started by humans, we are asking you to please adhere to the recommendations that your local fire departments put out, as well as DFFM, keeping your chains off the ground if you're towing a trailer, as well as being very cautious if you're taking care of your personal property or if you're out in the forest themselves. You can help prevent wildfires. I know we've heard that from Smokey the Bear for years. It's kind of like washing your hands. We've heard that from our parents since we were little kids. But this year, it's very important that you adhere to these standards so that we as local agencies as well as state and federal can balance those resources and provide the necessary services that you demand. So thank you.